Yeah. You should hear me when I go to the laundry room and it's a filthy mess. I live in an apartment building in the West End. And so my language is a little less sanitary. Because I know I have a bunch of people who are self-identified Christians in my building. And it's a building of subsidized housing for people living with HIV disease. And their guests often come in, some of these people, and scream at you from the hall, from the alley or the front door. They hold that door, I forgot my card. And they get up there and they go, you're holding the door. And they go, thank you. And then they start to walk away, and you walk away, and you hear, sir. You start to think. So all I say now when I hear that is, cunt. And it's one of my favorite swear words anyway. And I know that the guy who lives next door to me is not like that at all. He's a rather repressed gay man of color. His mother died recently. They moved in together, and then she died. She was old. I didn't kill her. I was out of town all that week. Never mind. Okay, fine. So I'm going to finish up the evening with a little bit of the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Now, I don't know how many people know Sherlock Holmes or the writing or the blah, 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 any of that stuff. Oh my God, I've got missing a cross thing here. Sorry. But Holmes is a real bitch. I mean, he's bright, Asperger, high-functioning Asperger probably, but he's just a bitch. And Watson is a hard-working, swell every guy who's a doctor. Well, actually, he hadn't quite got his doctorate yet, but anyway. And Holmes is always reminding Watson of how inferior he is. So, this is what we're reading. Sorry, I thought it would scare you just a little. And it's called The Field Bazaar, B.A. said. I should certainly do it, said Sherlock Holmes. I started at the interruption, for my companion had been eating his breakfast with his attention entirely centered upon the paper, which was propped up by the coffee pot. Now I looked across at him to find his eyes fastened upon me with a self-amused, half-questioning expression, which he usually assumed when he felt that he had made an intellectual point. Do what? I asked. He smiled as he took his slipper from the mantelpiece and drew from it enough shag tobacco to fill the old clay pipe with which he invariably rounded off his breakfast. A most characteristic question endorsement, Watson, said he. You will not, I am sure, be offended if I say that any reputation for sharpness which I may possess has been entirely gained by the admirable foil which you have made for me. Just called him a dimwit. If you're following along, it's quite funny. Sorry. Where were we? Have I not heard of debutantes who have insisted upon plainness in their chaperones? There is a certain analogy. Our long companionship in the Baker Street rooms had left us on those easy terms of intimacy when much may be said without offense. And yet I acknowledged that I was nettled at his remark. Piss off. I may be very obtuse, said I, but I confess that I am unable to see how you have managed to know that I was asked to help in the Edinburgh University Bazaar. Precisely. The letter has only just come to hand, and I have not spoken to you since. In spite of that, said Holmes, leaning back in his chair and putting his fingertips together, I would even venture to suggest that the object of the bazaar is to enlarge the university cricket field. I looked at him in such bewilderment that he vibrated with silent laughter. The fact is, my dear Watson, that you are an excellent subject, said he. You are never blasé. You respond instantly to any external stimulus. Your mental processes may be slow, but they are never obscure. And I found during breakfast that you were easier reading than the leader in the Times in front of me. You're really an idiot. Uh-oh. Rather watch you than TV. Kind of, you know. I should be glad to know how you arrived at your conclusions, said I. I hear that my good nature in giving explanations has seriously compromised my reputation, said Holmes. But in this case, the training of reasoning is based upon such obvious facts that no credit can be claimed for it. You entered the room with a thoughtful expression, the expression of a man who is debating some point in his mind. In your hand you held a solitary letter. Now last night you retired in the best of spirits, so it was clear that it was this letter in your hand which had caused the change in you. This is obvious. It is all obvious when it is explained to you. I naturally asked myself what the letter could contain which might have this effect upon you. As you walked, you held the flap side of the envelope towards me, and I saw upon it the same shield-shaped device which I had observed upon your old college cricket cap. It was clear then that the request came from Edinburgh University, or from some club connected with the university. When you reached the table, you laid down the letter beside your plate with the address uppermost, and you walked over to look at the framed photograph upon the left of the mantelpiece. It amazed me to see the accuracy with which he had observed my movements. What next? I asked. I began by glancing at the address that I could tell, even at the distance of 6 feet, that it was an unofficial communication. This I gathered from the use of the word doctor upon the address, to which, as a Bachelor of Medicine, you have no legal claim. So good. I knew that university officials are pedantic in their correct use of titles, and I was thus enabled to say with certainty that your letter was unofficial. When on your return to the table you turned over your letter and allowed me to perceive that the enclosure was a printed one, the idea of the bizarre first occurred to me. I had already weighed the possibility of its being a political communication, but this seemed improbable in the present stagnant conditions of politics, modern day, just like now. When you returned to the table, your face still retained its expression, and it was evident that your examination of the photograph had not changed the current of your thoughts. In that case, it must itself bear upon the subject in question. I turned my attention to the photograph, therefore, and saw at once that it consisted of yourself as a member of the Edinburgh University 11, with the pavilion and cricket field in the background. My small experience of cricket clubs has taught me that next to churches and cavalry signs, they are the most debt-laden things upon earth. Sports. Also like today. There's that two or three guys getting money out of sports. Everybody else is bleeding. It's true. Where were we? I could not help smiling at the extreme simplicity of his explanation. Of course, it was as easy as possible, said I. My remark appeared to nettle him. I may add, said he, that the particular help which you have been asked to give was that you should write in their album, and that you have already made up your mind that the present incident will be the subject of your article. But how? I cried. It is as easy as possible, said he, and I leave its solution to your own ingenuity. In the meantime, he added, raising his paper, you will excuse me if I return to this very interesting article upon the trees of Cremona and the exact reasons for their preeminence in the manufacture of violins. It is one of those small outlying problems to which I am sometimes tempted to direct my attention. Bitch. Anyway, I have another short one that's quite good as well, where, you know, it's The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You all falling asleep? Did I bore the hell out of you? We're going to have a dancing demonstration now. Watson had been watching his companion intently ever since he sat down to the breakfast table. Holmes happened to look up and catch his eye. "Well, Watson, what are you thinking about?" he asked. "About you?" "Me? Yes, Holmes. I was thinking how superficial are these tricks of yours, and how wonderful it is that the public should continue to show interest in them." "I quite agree," said Holmes. "In fact, I have a recollection that I have myself made a similar remark." "Your methods," said Watson severely, "are really easily acquired." "No doubt," Holmes answered with a smile. "Perhaps you will yourself give an example of this method of reasoning." "With pleasure," said Watson. "I'm able to say that you were greatly preoccupied when you got up this morning." "Excellent," said Holmes. "How could you possibly know that?" "Because you are usually a very tidy man, and yet you have forgotten to shave." "Dear me, how very clever," said Holmes. "I had no idea, Watson, that you were so apt a pupil. Has your eagle eye detected anything more?" "Yes, Holmes. You have a client named Barlow, and you have not been successful in his case." "Dear me, how could you know that?" "I saw the name outside his envelope. When you opened it, you gave a groan and thrust it into your pocket with a frown on your face." "Admirable. You are indeed observant. Any other points?" "I fear, Holmes, that you have taken to financial speculation." "How could you tell that, Watson?" "You opened the paper, turned to the financial page, and gave a loud exclamation of interest." "Well, that is very clever of you, Watson. Any more?" "Yes, Holmes, you have put on your black coat instead of your dressing gown, which proves that you were expecting some important visitor at once." "Anything more?" "I have no doubt that I could find other points, Holmes, but I only gave you these few in order to show you that there are other people in the world who can be as clever as you, and some not so clever," said Holmes. "I admit that they are few, but I'm afraid, my dear Watson, I must count you among them." "Not so clever." "Yes. What do you mean, Holmes?" "Well, my dear fellow, I fear your deductions have been so happy as I should have wished." "Not me." "You mean that I was mistaken? Just a little that way, I fear." "Let us make the points in their order. I did not shave because I have sent my razor to be sharpened. I put on my coat because I had, worse luck, an early meeting with my dentist. His name is Barlow, and the letter was to confirm the appointment. The cricket page is beside the financial one, and I turned to it to find if Surrey was holding its own against Kent. But go on, Watson, go on. It's a very superficial trick, and no doubt you will soon acquire it." Bitch. Thank you. Any questions? Please don't read that again. No. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight. Please don't forget about the, what are you calling it, holiday extravaganza? On the 20th. I said Christmas show, but that's just because I do this character called Mary with an A, Merry Xmas. So that will be the event I will be coming to for that. And I won't read any more Sherlock Holmes. I'll write something of my own. Thank you.